Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today we've got another Naruto character review for you, and today we are going to be looking at Kimimaro from one of Orochimaru's henchmen, and he's from Naruto, and really just Naruto. So make sure you are caught up on the show, because there are going to be some spoilers before you watch this. So yeah, let's jump right into this. So Kimimaro. Well, he's an interesting one. We first see him at during the whole Sasuke retrieval section, though he's kind of was lurking in the background for a little while before that. But he was originally the leader of the Sound 4 or Sound 5. It was the Sound 4 till he joined and took over. And then it went back to being Sound 4 once he became ill. Again, it's a little bit of a spoiler for later in the video, I guess. Although, I mean, you should be aware. Anyways, so Kimimaro, basically this guy, he was a member of the Kaguya clan, and a particularly powerful one ever since he was a child. Now, the Kaguya clan's an interesting clan. They're all about war and violence. They are just a bunch of brutes that really don't have any sort of sophistication. They just like killing for the sake of killing, is what it seems. Now, they locked up poor young Kimimaro due to the fact that he was particularly powerful. And they didn't want to kill him because, he's a valuable asset, but they were also scared of him. So they kept him behind bars to, make sure that his power was under check, which kind of messed up thing to do. Like, it's a pretty really messed up thing to do. And it really made him feel isolated and alone. When they finally let him out, it was for a fight against the Mist Village. Interestingly enough, immediately after Zabuza and Haku had left the Mist Village, immediately, because he actually ran into them on the way. Weirdly enough, on his way in, he saw them and is like, "Are you from the Mist Village?" And Zabuza's like, "No." And it's like, "Oh, never mind then." And like Zabuza was ready to fight. He had his sword out. Things were about ready to go down. It's like, okay, yeah, fine. But anyways, Kimimaro, he ended up running in, fighting, and he was the only one who ended up surviving. The rest of the clan got wiped out. Oh, also before he made it in to the village, he also ran into Orochimaru, who, again, he said, "Hey, I'm not from this village. You want those guys down there below this ledge?" And he kind of let Kimimaro on his way. Although Kimimaro did attack Orochimaru, and Orochimaru was just pushed him off and was like, "Yeah, no." And then they had that conversation. Anyways, so yeah, that's he ended up being the only survivor. He felt useless, abandoned, and alone. Even Haku kind of recognized that in him, because that's how Haku had felt before running into Zabuza, which is probably why the author had them meet. But anyways, yeah, so Haku recognized that sense of sameness. And only this time it was Orochimaru who said that he had a purpose for Kimimaro, and took him under his wing as a valuable servant who helped him conquer a number of foes. You see that he was actually instrumental in a number of the plots that had to do with the whole destruction of the Leaf Village. He was there when they took down those Leaf Shinobi that Orochimaru impersonated. I mean, that probably wasn't a big deal. They were just getting, but still, the fact that they did that without causing a scene, a little bit impressive. Then the whole matter of how they managed to take down, then the whole matter of taking down the Kazekage, Gaara's father, interestingly enough. Yes, he was instrumental in that fight as well as a number. But however, when it to actually take down the Leaf Village, he fell ill and was unable to comply with that. He was also majorly instrumental in. Well, he also used his skills and power in order to, take on the Sound Four and become their leader. In addition, I guess this one's a spoiler for Shippuden, so watch out for that. He's not in there, but he was also the influence for what was his name? Jugo. He ran into Jugo during his times with Orochimaru, and had Jugo come under his power and use that to make the curse mark. The story gets a little muddled with that because during Kimimaro's story, they talk about him getting the curse mark, but no reference to Jugo on that, just that, it lets him become part of Orochimaru, despite the fact that he very well would have known about Jugo, seeing as Jugo, admired him. That whole thing gets really messy right there. If you really start to think about that one doesn't make as much sense as it probably should. But anyways, so that's kind of what it is with Jugo, or how he interacts with Jugo. But anyways, you eventually see him when he gets sent by Kabuto to help retrieve Sasuke. Originally, it was the Sound Four who went after him, but Kimimaro joined the fight, and just in the nick of time, because by the time he got there, he was, when he had gotten there, Naruto, Kiba, and Shikamaru, actually, no, Kiba had been out of the fight, but Naruto and Shikamaru had successfully managed to grab the coffin that Sasuke was in, and really only Tayuya stood in their way. And between the two of them, they probably could have stopped her. Shikamaru came pretty close on his own. With some help from backup from Naruto, they probably could have taken her down. But that ended up not happening because Kimimaro showed up just in the nick of time to, mess everything up for the heroes, basically. So yeah, that was a fun little deal. They ended up defeating Kimimaro. Not defeating. Kimimaro ended up taking Sasuke's coffin, and then ended up fighting Naruto. And he proved himself in battle there too. He managed to take down Naruto, who was in partial Nine-Tails mode. He was using some of the power of the Nine-Tailed Fox in order to increase his power and the number of shadow clones. And he just couldn't do it. He wasn't enough to take down Kimimaro at all. Kimimaro was holding his own. And not only that, Naruto wasn't even coming close to getting through. Naruto was really just it was really just a standoff and just delaying is all Naruto was managing to pull off with that. And Kimimaro wasn't even trying. So, as demonstrated by some of the stuff Kimimaro does later. Rock Lee ends up showing up, and first Sasuke ends up running off, getting out of finishing his transformation in the coffin and running off, and then Rock Lee ends up showing up and stopping, and ends up taking over the fight for Naruto, who runs after Sasuke. Now Lee managed to slow him down for a little bit. Granted, Kimimaro wasn't using his curse mark at all, nor was he even going full out without the curse mark, but he managed to slow him down a bit with his high-level taijutsu, and even more when he drank the sake and had a hard time. Kimimaro had a really hard time dealing with Lee's drunken state and how good he is as a drunken master. However, he did manage to scratch Lee and knock him out of that. Lee was also injured, so at the same time, he wasn't able to fight at his full or even close to it. So Lee wasn't fighting at full, but Kimimaro did manage to hold him off fairly well, and he wasn't trying that hard. Then Gaara shows up, and this is where you really see just how impressive Kimimaro is. Kimimaro gets hit by Gaara's sand coffin and sand burial. This is a crazy attack. You're surrounded by sand that just crushes you, and just absolutely just destroys your body. You just push so much pressure on it that it just squeezes the life out of you, quite literally. But Kimimaro was able to survive this by literally giving himself an exoskeleton. He literally just grew a layer of bones under his skin in order to survive that, which is really crazy when you think about it, because, I mean, most of these guys returned to mush. Not even their skull survived, and your skull has an exoskeleton. Like, the bone's right under the skin right there. Like, it's right there. There's nothing between my skin and the bone. It just goes right to it. That's the case for most of the skull, actually, especially the stuff around the brain. But anyways, maybe he made that even thicker. I don't know. I don't know what he did there, but somehow he managed to survive that by giving himself an exoskeleton. Which is even crazier because after digging his way out of that, Gaara buried him in an enormous amount of sand. Like, he created like a whole miniature little desert. And when I say miniature, I mean, it's not like the size of the Sahara or anything. It's way smaller than that. But like, it was a localized desert. Like, the whole area around them had turned into sand, and yeah, just the landscape that they were in just completely changed. And he used all that sand that he had created in order to do an even stronger sand burial. And even that Kimimaro couldn't be stopped by. Like, that's just insane how strong his bone attacks are, and how ridiculously durable they are. Eventually, he manages to claw his way out of that. Of course, he did have to go second state in order to get through this one. He had to go through and he had to use first state of the curse mark in order to get through the second part. Anyway, in order to just survive the original sand coffin, and sand burial. But nonetheless, he pulled it off. After that, you see him get even crazier by coming and using pulling his own spinal column out of his head to use as a whip in order to just grab Gaara, which Gaara, didn't take any damage because he used some sand. And then he made the spear in his right hand, or maybe I think it was his left hand. Yeah, I think he used his right hand to that, and he was going to go spear him with his hardest bone that he had to just drive it through Gaara. But Gaara put up his strongest defense, and he couldn't get through that. So Gaara's strongest defense was too much for him. But it really took a lot of chakra for Gaara to do all this. After this, Gaara buried him, he says, 200 meters beneath the earth, which is insane. And Kimimaro came back from that by first using one of his dances in order to just cause all these spikes to come, not spikes, all these, bone spikes to just come flying out of the ground and just impale anyone who was anywhere nearby, which both Gaara and Lee were. But Gaara managed to avoid this by taking small sections of sand and putting himself and Lee on one, or on two separate ones, and levitating them into the air. So just carrying himself and Lee on the sand in order to avoid those attacks. But even that, but that took everything out of Gaara. And while Gaara was, struggling to maintain himself because he'd used all of his chakra, Kimimaro, he came out of that burial and came for another attack at Gaara. And Gaara had no defense. Gaara would have died if it wasn't for the fact that Kimimaro was sick and injured, which is never explained how that happened. Like, that never ever explained his illness. But anyways, he ended up succumbing to it at that very moment, and that saved Gaara's life, and Lee's as well, probably, because Gaara would have died. And let's keep this in mind. Gaara was a Jinchuriki at this point. He had the One Tail at his disposal during this fight. This was no laughing matter. Now, was he using the One Tail's power? Maybe not. It's very arguable that he was not. But, the fact that he almost succumbed to this attack from Kimimaro really shows just how tough Kimimaro was. Because Gaara is no joke of an opponent. He was the previous big bad guy that they fought in the previous arc, and now he's almost dying to Kimimaro. That's just how crazy he is. But Kimimaro ended up being the one to ultimately die. And that's really all there is to say about him. He's an interesting character. He's a very quiet person. He had a rough life. Like, he spent his whole childhood just locked in a cage, wondering why he was like that. Like, wondering what God could have allowed for him to have such a fate. Like, he really questioned. He really questions. He's like, I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I here? Why am I like this? Why do I have to suffer this way? Um, he had a pretty brutal existence, and then of course that was replaced by Orochimaru saying, "Hey, be my tool," and giving him a purpose of working under Orochimaru, which it's a dark, messed up theme. Like, I feel bad for the guy. Like, Jugo ended up respecting him for being able to be his cage. Um, uh, yeah, I feel bad for Kimimaro. He's had a rough go of it. Yeah, he was very much brainwashed by Orochimaru, as Gaara said, and he refused to admit it because he didn't know he was being brainwashed. Like, the only things Kimimaro ever knew were being alone and being used by Orochimaru. What's better? Being completely isolated and alone and just absolutely worthless with nobody caring about your existence whatsoever? Or having a deranged madman use you for his own personal gain? The latter is actually the more appealing option. You have a purpose in life. There's a reason for your existence. And even though it's messed up, like, if you don't know anything else, I mean, that's just how it is. So I feel for Kimimaro. Yeah, he was a bad guy. Yeah, he caused a lot of problems and almost killed Gaara when Gaara was starting to turn his stuff around. But honestly, he probably helped Gaara understand things better, because Gaara, after that fight, came to realize that being used by somebody who is evil is preferable to being alone, especially seeing as Gaara can understand the pain of being alone. Now, Gar had also at this point been exposed to, having friends and having good people in your life that you can trust and that you can care about and that will care about you. He was aware of this as well. And Gar was like, oh, that's a much better option than having somebody who's than having somebody use you who's evil. But it's still being better to use by someone who's evil than to just be worthless and alone, especially if you don't know any better, like, which Kimimaro didn't. So, and Gaara kind of didn't at that point either, but he could see that third option, and he luckily had some people who could help him with that, like his siblings, who were still terrified of him, but were at least willing to give him a go, especially Tamari. She's kind of a soft-hearted one, as much of an alpha female she is, and as strong and she is. She's got a soft heart. She's got a soft spot. Like, she cares for her brother, like she does. So, anyways, yeah. Kimimaro, he really played a role in helping shape Gaara into the man he becomes in Shippuden. So, kind of a big deal. And of course, he helped shape Jugo into the man he is. And of course, Jugo becomes one of Sasuke's, I guess, lackeys in Shippuden. So, he does play a fairly significant role through the show, despite the fact that he's only in a few episodes and dies at the end of it. He's a significant character. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of Kimimaro down in the comments below. I always love hearing from you. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving it a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel for more Naruto videos. Although I do mostly do Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 stuff, but I do plan to be doing some more Naruto character reviews. But definitely subscribe and ring that notification bell, especially if you're looking for some D&D 3.5 stuff as well. Anyways, as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you.